and killed you.
Yeah, you did.
We have a problem. He came for us.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nikki Novak, and welcome to Fandango's big ticket interview for The Crow. I'm here with the cast. So nice to see you both.
Hi, good to see you too.
Such a beautiful film.
Thank you.
I feel like every shot was like you could freeze it and hang it on your wall like a painting. It was
Amazing.
absolutely stunning. I want to start with the love story between the two of you because it really is the first act. Getting that first scene when they see each other, really the whole film hinges on it in a sense because you have to believe that they're soulmates, that he would do anything for her and she'd do anything for him. And I know you didn't really meet beforehand. Rupert had you meet in Prague. I think you were both already cast. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about getting that scene, that first scene, and sort of creating the chemistry between the two of you.
Well, I think that Bill and I, very luckily for the film and for Rupert, just got on straight away as soon as we met. I find Bill really funny.
Because I've heard about this, that you need to do a comedy. I've heard about this.
You are
yeah.
really funny. Yeah, you are really funny. But also I think we both were able to be very open with each other straight away with our lives and be very vulnerable. And so it just created this bond. And on set, I really did feel like I found a friend, you know, and I felt as this was my first lead, Bill was incredibly generous and incredibly kind to me, you know, like I felt like he really showed me the ropes, and then I'd be like, what does that mean, you know, and he'd tell me. So we just developed this trust, and then I just felt that came through in the characters.
Yeah, no, I felt the same way, and to your point, it was so important that the chemistry between Eric and Shelley would be so apparent and strong and powerful, and we had very little kind of runway in terms of the length of the movie to tell this story. And yeah, and I was a big fan of Twigs before from
could
her
you not
music and her music videos and everything. So I was a big fan of her as an artist, and I think that made it easier. Or to your point of like this being your first lead, you're a true artist. So that type of creativity takes all different shapes and forms that I didn't feel like I was working with a novice or of any kind. It was like, you know, I worked with a true artist, and I think we bonded creatively on that level. And Twigs is very smart, and we were just like, okay, where are the issues here with the script, and how can we better it, and how can we improve it? And we spent a lot of time getting to know each other through the material as well, and it was a pleasure.
So many beautiful moments. The kiss through the veil, and then it's sort of, you see it back again in the opera scene later, in a sense, with the costuming of that. Actually, I want to ask you, because you called Twigs an artist. And as an artist, there's a line in the movie, and I love sort of like when they ask each other those questions, like, what's the first thing you liked about me, and what's the worst thing that you've ever done? So I wanted to ask you, what was the first thing that you noticed about Shelley as an artist that made you want to dive in and play her?
The first meeting that I had with Rupert, because there was no script when I signed on to the film.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I didn't have a script before I met Rupert. We had a wonderful meeting, and Rupert said to me that I had one job, and that was to create a character that was so loved and adorable and meaningful to Eric that when my character died, you'd feel like there was a big hole left in the film. And that's what attracted me to want to do it, because I didn't know Shelley. You know, before I walked on set, I didn't know who she was, but I think that through our relationship as friends and through the work that we did for our characters, I feel like I found Shelley. It was a process. And it's funny, because I felt that I'd just really got to know her, and then it was my last day. You know, it was really this process of constant discovery.
Yeah, I think that's fairly common, or at least for me it is as well, where it's like part of playing a character is discovering the character while you're playing it. So the last day you've experienced what the character goes through from beginning to end of a movie, and then you go like, oh, okay.
Now I get it.
Yeah, in
Can
a
we
way.
do it again?
Yeah, almost. Like I would be amazing if you got to like reshoot a whole movie.
I understand that as an interviewer too. We always feel that way, don't
Yeah,
we? So I
no.
wanted to ask you, becoming this character, going from Eric to Full Crow, can you sort of break down how you developed him? Because you are also an artist, obviously, in everything that you do. Did you have a hand in the makeup look? Was that sort of a collaboration between you and Rupert? And it's based on the graphic novel, so it's a different interpretation as well.
Yeah, for sure. Rupert he's an incredibly talented visual director. I mean, all those kind of images and shots is like he sees that in his head. He's so good at it. And similar to Twigs, like my earlier conversations with him was before there was a script. There was Rupert had a very clear vision of what it was, and
Is
had
it
a
like
very
a Cure song or something?
yeah.
Which I'm a Cure fan, so I'll,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And you know, we talked about like who this Eric was. You know, we had this like Lil Peep documentary and about like this kind of scene in that kind of underworld, and Lil Peep kind of became this in for me in a way.
Really?
Yeah, watching that, and when you meet Eric, it's the movie happens at a very quick pace. That you kind of, and especially the first act. So for me, discovering Eric was all about trying to understand this person that leads up to the moment you meet him and where he's coming from and what his journey has been up to that point. That was like shaping him, who he was, what he came from, and he's a person that has reached his limit, you know,
Right.
in life. That to me was so crucial that
Right.
you meet him and he's given up. He's given up on it. Seeing Shelley becomes this projected savior, projected angel, and not to diminish the love that's there, but there's a danger with that kind of love that's so projected onto someone
Right.
that you know, I can't live without you feeling.
Yeah.
It's very, very powerful, but it could also be destructive. But I think that was very important, that felt
Yeah.
immediate.
I'm going to follow up on that because Rupert said he was sort of talking about the Crow version where the makeup is on and further along in the movie, and he said, who thinks is a Nietzsche quote, "Whoever fights monsters must be careful that they don't become one." First of all, when you saw yourself in the mirror, with the makeup on, and you have a shot in the mirror, and I wonder as an actor, when you're doing a shot in the mirror and you see yourself, what that moment was like, because I know as an actor, and you've talked about this, you really want to get to that sweet spot where you're so fully immersed in that character, you don't even remember you're acting.
Because the way the story unfolds, when he finally becomes the Crow, he's sacrificed everything that was worth anything for him, which is he'll never be able to be with Shelley, and he's given his life for hers, right? When he becomes the Crow, and to the style importantly, we wanted to feel kind of organically as it unfolded in the movie, where the jacket comes on and then, but in that moment, he's a very dangerous person. He's a very dangerous individual because he's given up everything. He's just filled with vengeance and hate. That once the makeup comes on, it happens almost in this kind of trance-like state for him. And then he sees himself in the mirror, and he truly hates what he's become. And then it sets off on this very nihilistic third act for him. And that carried throughout the whole opera scene as well, and the whole climax of the movie is that there's no enjoyment in him, you know, which is kind of different from some other revenge stories where it's just kind of this like, this is my payback moment, you know, and there were moments where they wanted more of that kind of like those types of lines in it, and I'm like, there's no joy left in him here. So he can't even take pleasure or joy in taking revenge because, you know, he's basically just become butcherer.
I want to get back to that opera scene in a minute, but I wanted to ask you, there's a beautiful moment where you sing in the film, and I was wondering if that's something that you decided you wanted to do as a singer, if you wanted to add that. Was that Rupert's idea?
Yeah.
And do you use music to get into character? What do you listen to?
No, it was already in the script, actually.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, it was already there when I got it. And I do use music, definitely, but it's mine, so I can't tell you.
Oh, it's okay. So it's like something that you use.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting.
For me, acting, it's such like a new thing. I always describe an artist as like you have your keys, you know? So like, I know where my singing keys are. Like if you said to me, sing right now, I'd just start singing. If you said to me like,
I feel free.
cut a shape, like start dancing, I could just do it, you know? But for me, like acting, I mean, I've done 3 films now. I'm about to go off and do my 4th. And it's like my acting keys are, they're there. I feel nervous to even talk about the process. I remember when I first started making music and people would ask me about my process and I just don't even want to talk about it, you know, because it just feels like so personal that I feel so nervous to even speak on it. But yeah, definitely like music is involved, but it's just it's very like personal, like deep kind of connection that one can have with a character when you're creating it. And I guess each one is different, but I'm still learning and I'm still figuring it out.
I'm curious if this is a character you would want to play again, because there's obviously an opportunity.
I would never want to play the same character ever again, because that
Oh,
doesn't
really?
interest me as an artist. But if there was to be another Crow, it would be a different character, because now Shelley's experienced extreme loss, so it could never be the same character again. So if there was to be a new Shelley, I'm sure that she'd be very different.
That would be sad, because she's such a lovely character. So I want to go back to the opera scene that I think everybody's going to talk about. And I'm saying this, and I can say this because it's Lionsgate. It gave me a little bit of a John Wick vibe that you obviously have experienced. So I'm wondering if you could kind of break down that scene and that sequence, kind of how many days it took. And the choreography and the kind of training. Rupert joked that you ate a lot of raw meat, you were very disciplined, but like sort of how you approached that scene, how much choreography there was.
Well, I was just coming off a movie called Boy Kills World that I did just before this, which in terms of choreography was the most insane thing I've ever done. In a way, everything kind of paled in comparison to that. That was by like a very brutal sort of boot camp for it. And that movie was very sort of ambitious when we had very little time and money and everything. So it was just, it was a lot to learn. And what I noticed on that one was that, I don't have any experience in dancing or anything, but I picked up choreography very quick. To me, it was just how your brains work in a way. I don't know, but I was just like, okay, like movement felt or natural to me or somehow. Like I don't know if that's the thing, but like I just felt.
You're so physical.
Yeah.
Yeah, like your physicality is amazing. Like it's like natural in you.
Yeah. I don't know, but that means a lot coming from Twin, so I'll take it. But yeah, so and we work with Adam Horton, is the stunt choreographer, and I just come off that movie, so I like walked in, and then in this movie, it's the big choreography piece is the climax of the opera scene and I walked in and then kind of just blocked out, rehearsed the choreography in like 2 hours. I knew everything, and I was like, all right, cool. Well, this will be interesting. And then they changed the whole concept of it, so I think we did it 3 times, different versions of it. And when you're doing a choreography, like you're just basically in a gym hall or like in a space, and you're just practicing the moves. And then we changed it to what it actually is. And it became this thing where it's like, at one point it was supposed to be very graceful and this kind of ballet-ic, movement through it. But then we find that it absolutely made no sense to where Eric was at that point. Again, he's just there to kill everything. Just kill the whole world, So that informed the choreography of this kind of brutal, vicious, it becomes an emotional climax. And I think that's important when you do action, that it's not like, what's the kind of emotional reason behind it? It's almost like he enjoys all the pain that is inflicted on him. He's kind of learned to embrace it in a masochistic way, kind of love how it feels, again, to the point of like him hating himself.
Do you think he could take John Wick in a fight? Because they both seemingly can't be killed.
I don't know.
Who would you bet? Who would you bet on?
I'm not getting into that.
I think it depends on what John Wick did to Eric.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a great point.
I think John Wick is probably a better casual killer, if you will.
This film obviously deals with the theme of immortality, and I'm wondering if given the choice, would you choose it? It's a heavy burden when you think about it, but is that something that you pondered while you made this film, and is that something as a choice, if given the choice, you would choose? I would choose it in a heartbeat. I'd be very happy to choose it.
I think like an egoic immortality is probably hell. So like if you're, as a subject, Bill, living for an eternity, I don't think I would want that. But the concept of existing for eternity, like outside of the ego of Bill, I think possibly is real. I don't know, but that could be appealing. But I don't think anybody would actually want to live forever as an individual and a subject towards it. I don't know. What do you think?
I would love to live forever, but for the reason, because sometimes I think to myself, so I only speak one language and I know so many amazing people. Imagine if I could learn every language and all the people I would meet and all the cultures I would learn and all the lessons and all the histories I would know. Sometimes I feel there's such a finite amount of time in this life. Imagine if I went to like Azerbaijan, and I could like meet everybody there, or I could go to, I don't know, like Egypt. Egypt and like speak the language and get to know everyone and speak to
Yeah.
like an old man. And I just sometimes I have anxiety that I'm like, there's not enough time in this lifetime to truly understand every single person.
But
in the
eternity
world.
is very long.
It is
It's
long.
infinite. So like, I'd say like to live 100,000 years, yeah, for sure. I just think eternity is, if you ever actually think about what that is,
But are you still?
it's impossible to
Are you
understand it.
youthful? Like, is it like, do you still? Can you like move around still, or are you in pain, or like what is? You know, then we start getting into the.
But
what,
in
what are the
terms
rules
of
this
also,
game?
yeah, and
I'm trying to
also
figure out.
if it's in like, can you choose to end it at any given point?
I love that you're making me the rule maker for this.
Well,
you asked the
you
question.
asked the question.
I guess the answer would be
I think no, right? You can't
I think
kill yourself.
no.
You can't end it.
Are you in
You
pain?
can't end
Are
it.
you in pain?
no.
You're not.
You
in
could
pain.
feel it, kind of like the character, your
Yeah.
character. You can feel it, but you don't die.
I would still just want to know. I don't know. I'd love to just speak like all of the languages and get to know everybody. Just get to know everyone, all the animals, all the people, all the cultures.
Yeah, but when Earth dies, and you're just like floating around.
Okay, but so when Earth dies, are you still there?
Yeah, you're still there.
Yeah.
Forever. Like,
Bill's
you're-
making
no,
up the rules
you're
now. You're
forever.
floating around.
When the sun eats Earth, you're just gonna be there.
Can you go to other planets?
No, well, I mean, yeah,
Yeah, I'd go
technology.
to. I'd be like kicking through space, like to go.
Yeah, for eternity.
Yeah, I'd be like shimmying to try and get to another planet, and then I would learn and meet everyone there.
Yeah, sure. But it might take like, 4 billion years for you to squirm yourself to a planet.
It's like good
that's
exercise.
habitable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is either a movie or it's a great board game that we need to like develop together.
Yeah.
So they're wrapping me, so I wanted to thank you both and congratulate you both on such a lovely film.
Thank you so much.
Incredible work, and I want to remind everybody that tickets for The Crow are now on sale at Fandango. Thanks for watching.